Hey guys, welcome to another commentary done by Diggity on behalf of StarCastTV. Bottom left-hand corner we have Sharp, starting as the white Terran. Bottom right-hand corner we have Mini, starting as the orange Terran. This is going to be on Fighting Spirit, so about as typical and consistent a map as you can ask for. Between the two, I believe I'm going to have to favor Mini, although I believe Sharp's versus Protoss stats are a little bit higher. Mini's no slouch. Neither of these guys are bad in their respective matchups here. So I'm not sure what to say as far as what I expect to see. I'm expecting Sharp to probably do the standard mid-game vulture harass sort of thing, and Mini to try to utilize strong Reaver play in the mid-game. Mini reminds me, he's just a great player, but him and Snow are the two players I think of when I think of just like their absolute brutal ability to shift and change games around through the Reaver micro. I think Snow's a little bit higher in that regard, but Mini's right there as well. Great player. Both these guys not having great showings recently in ASL. Last season, I believe Mini making it to the round of 16 and Sharp getting bounced in the round of 24. I want to say round of 32, but I think it's the round of 24 there. Anyway, Supply Depot down for Sharp. So it looks like, we'll see if he goes for 14 Command Center. This is a map where it can happen, but it looks like he's sidling up to go ahead and set down that barracks instead. We do have a gateway initially. I'm expecting with this rather than a 12 nexus. It's possible we'll see gateway into expand, but I'm expecting to see gateway, gas, quick dragoons on this map because Fighting Spirit is absolutely gigantic to do the quick map reveal. The one thing I do find, one aspect I do think that is interesting in PvT in particular is Protoss's options for third bases as far as a follow-up, especially when you're in close spawn positions like this, because you don't want to take that 6 o'clock base and expand into your opponent. It looks like it is going to be gateway into expand. And first scout from Sharp. So actually this opened, and he's still got the 3 SCV on gas. Now I'm curious how Sharp's going to react, because that actually opens up a lot of opportunities. Because, yeah, and actually kept that SCV, I think, slightly out of range so that it is not, in fact, scouted himself. Let's see if this probe swings around, because I think the SCV... So he's just stayed on the edge of vision, but... Curious if he's... Yeah, he's trying... Wow. Diligent play on Sharp's part to keep that SCV moving and hide it in the middle of the map. So hidden now. First Zealot's out. So now on top of this, Mini doesn't know that he's scouted. And now he's going to send in this ICV scout to follow. Misses the Zealot, however. Looks like he's going for a factory build, so it looks like it is just going to be one factory. This might be unfortunate for Sharp, because Sharp might have outplayed himself, where he missed that Zealot walking the way across. And that might have some serious consequences. I think he wants to play a little bit more aggressively, though, because he has staged this factory towards the ramp. Maybe to get an initial vulture out. The Zealot is going to find it immediately, though. So that's unfortunate. Sharp putting in a lot of work to be clever early, and then not able to capitalize. It looks like the 3 Marines going to be able to push that Zealot out, and it wants to get out of here while that vulture is being constructed. But this is also going to give a decent economic boost to Mini. Probe and Zealot re-engaging. 2 SCVs coming off the line. So Sharp going to do... Trying to execute, wow, actually pulling a good amount of SCVs. So 6 SCVs now, 4 Marines, and a Vulture to follow. And this is going to be against 2 Zealots, realizing he needs to get some economic damage done early. The Zealots splitting past the SCVs, 4 SCVs proceeding forward, 1 Marine down, however. The Probe taking some damage. So these 4 SCVs at least are going to be able to stage forward, maybe to get that bunker down a little bit more rapidly, but the Dragoon is already out, and this is not a fair fight. Unless they're able to pin that Dragoon in, the rest of the attack force meandering up, so a bit of a scattered engagement here from Sharp to start. That the Zealot was able to make its way back to potentially attack from the rear, so now the bunker being built on one end, and Mini has positioned his troops to go ahead and maybe get a pincer situation. Sharp diving on the Nexus with everything he has as Zealot and the Dragoon trying to poke from the rear. I think Sharp realizes this is going to be difficult to execute, but that bunker is going to complete as the second Dragoon makes its way down. 2 Vultures on site, 4 Marines now in the bunker, and that Nexus going to fall rapidly. The 2 Zealots, the Zealot and the Dragoon, going to go for a turnaround attack back to the natural expansion. A siege tank going to be there just in time from Sharp. So Sharp having this build and attack completely planned out and executing beautifully, despite Mini, honestly, I think doing a lot to keep himself in a pretty strong position. 2 SCVs making their way back. Looks like the Dragoon might be able to get a pot shot. Needs to be careful it doesn't die itself. 3 Dragoons now staging at the natural expansion. 4 SCVs remaining. Once those 4 Dragoons are in position, might be able to take a shot at this. And keep in mind, Dragoon range has been somewhat delayed because of that faster Nexus grab. So, believe finishing positioning right about there. Siege Tank actually making its way up to the front. Sharp pouring on the pressure, grabbing his natural expansion and moving Siege Tank up with an additional Marine and Vulture to delay this natural expansion even further. 3 pot shots there, but he's got SCVs on site potentially to repair, loses that Vulture. Now this is going to be an overwhelming amount of Dragoons to hold this front. Dragoon making its way into the natural expansion to try to slow that command center down. The Marine dies on the front. SCV's no longer repairing because of this distraction. It looks like the SCV was in fact wiped out. Vulture trying to chase down that Dragoon. It just has a sliver of health. Dragoon dies, but as things clear out, Mini somehow has more workers overall. Maybe because of that brief moment where the Nexus was up, so the 4 Dragoons making their way out. Looks like they want to try to wind their way through the 6 o'clock, maybe to potentially avoid mines that might have been in the way, and make another approach at the natural expansion, which is currently bunkerless. So despite Sharp's incredible play early, well, eats a mine right there, might end up with some additional damage in his natural, although he does have 2 siege tanks. One of them is severely damaged with no protection, and again, the natural expansion SCV dies, delaying that command center. A single Vulture was able to sneak up to that 3 o'clock, drop a mine, but Mini really making a game of this and continuing to hold the worker lead, assaulting that command center, getting what damage he can. Now backing those Dragoons back to the right. He wants to try to get a full concentration of shots on a siege tank should it proceed forward. 1 tank on the high ground. Siege tech not quite finished researching, and more SCVs losing their lives, trying to complete that command center so he doesn't end up losing it to the Dragoons. Siege tank trying to bait forward. Command center looks like can't complete. He wants to complete it, raise it, and repair it. 1 Dragoon down now from that high ground assault. Command center finishes. Now the SCVs there to try to keep it alive and group repair. The siege tank trying to bait these Dragoons back. But it looks like Mini's Dragoons, well, I take that back. Picking off the siege tank on the low ground, picking off that mine. Mines boxing them in to the right. This is going to be really close. Now an SCV on position repairing, but gonna keep that command center alive as the Dragoons are finally taken out. But the command center still burning. A lot of siege tanks wiped out. A shuttle actually diving its way forward. Unfortunately didn't have anything in it, but a single Reaver shot, honestly a Reaver shot, maybe 2, could potentially take that out if it doesn't get repaired drastically immediately. It's still plummeting in health. An emergency turret coming online. Sharp scrambling to create a defense. The Observer checking everything out ahead of time. 2 Dragoons moving forward, and Mini opting, instead of wanting to assault that very weakened natural expansion, realizing he's put Sharp in the back foot. He's up 10 workers, is just going to grab the expansion at the 6 o'clock, which is a rare risky take, kind of aggressive towards his opponent. Mine at the 3 o'clock. Vulture also scooting around. Let's see if it makes its way to the 6 o'clock to detect what's happening. Natural expansion is also exposed. Mine firing off somewhere. I'm not sure where and on what, however. It looks like, so this Dragoon peeked forward. 8 a shot. So, 2 gateways behind this, continually pumping Dragoons. We have the Reaver and the Robo. The Reaver now on the front with 2 Zealots. Some mines to the north. A turret on the low ground. A turret towards the main. Looking to assault that high ground Zealot, dropping. The Reaver taking the shot, hitting the siege tank on the low ground. The Dragoons now peeling forward, want a group fire, took out the siege tank, but the command center is still at full health. The turret's now gone. Maybe wants to back out behind this. The Reaver is still in play. So Sharp continuing with the aggression, getting another siege tank. SCV's being pulled off the line, so more mining delays, mixing it up versus the Dragoons. And the shuttle still alive with the Reaver, making its way back potentially towards the main. Dragoons now behind that line, so Sharp having great difficulty dealing with Mini in the mid game, and it's really hurting his economy. That turret looks like it's going to be wiped out, so that well, let's see if that shuttle escapes or continues to take shots, holding position right this second to continue to deny this natural expansion as the 6 o'clock getting saturated by many. Scooping up that Reaver last second. Dragoon has an escape route in that shuttle, being scooped up with just barely a little bit of health, but Mini playing incredibly here. Finally tacking on 2 additional gateways. Shuttle speed is going to be online in not too long. And Sharp in a lot of trouble, down a bunch of supplies, been absolutely battered. Is honestly in survival mode right here, trying to get range upgrade with Goliath to deal with potential shuttle follow-ups. But Mini just obliterating the early game here, is in nearly double the supply at the 11-minute mark. 6 o'clock base up. I don't even know if I want to call this a second, well, yeah, it's well saturated. I was going to say, I don't even know if I want to call this a second functional base at this stage, considering how much damage has been accrued thus far, but it looks like it's decently saturated here. Additional drop attempt, potentially. Shuttle just barely sneaking out. Reaver holding short, wants to get some shots from the low ground. Does get 1 SCV and halt that turret, so still getting bonus. Vulture wiped out at the 3 o'clock location, potentially to get a 4th base. It looks like another shuttle out on the front. I'm wondering if we're going to see a second robotics facility and more of that Ascension style. This might negate what I had said earlier, where I'm like, Ascension is the reason for that shuttle instead of Arbiter play in the mid-game. This game might be a follow-up to show how it's effective on Fighting Spirit as well, although Mini has such a staggering lead. 4th factory being placed. Reaver on defense now here at the 6 o'clock location. A lot of gateways being planted. Citadel of Adun and Forge. I think the Citadel of Adun does indicate, aside from Zelt leg speed, we are going to see a transition towards Arbiters eventually. I think these are just 2 defensive shuttles. We'll see if a 3rd shuttle gets produced. I think that will be the indicator. More of a sizable indicator. Looks like it might want to do an exchange here at the 6 o'clock location. So yeah, it's going to be 2. So 2 shuttles. You got 4 Zealots in between. Starport being built. Maybe to get... Has the armory been humming? It looks like +1 weapons just about finished. So that's to get the +2 weapons online. The Observer checking the scene out, maybe to see if there's an exposed location. Nice Observer spread as well. 3 o'clock base being taken from Mini. And the siege tanks tentatively walking forward. And as they're doing so, this is what I was talking about with that Reaver micro. At full range, able to wipe that siege tank out. Vulture's walking up very, very cautiously to the 9 o'clock, almost creeping up there, seeing if the coast is clear, quickly discovering that it is not, and once again retreating. And this is a turret this far forward at the natural expansion, which shows you how shaken Sharp is by these Reavers. The Reavers continuing to just try to stay on the periphery of this range as Sharp with +1 weapons, trying to make his way out. And it's just these 2 shuttles now, slowing Sharp down, as Sharp, I think, desperately realizes he needs to get a Desperation 3rd up and running. So slowly doing a mech walk up to the 9 o'clock, but Zealot's already making the way across. Zealot leg speed is going to be complete in not too long. +1 weapons about halfway finished, so it's not going to be there to support. Templar Archives also coming online to get late game tech. Finally, the Observers being wiped out at the front, but Zealots and Dragoons nearby with shuttle support. 172 supply for Mini. And as soon as the second round of Zealots marches out, I'm wondering if we're going to see a pincer attack from both locations at this natural expansion. You have the Dragoons, moving from the north. They're getting caught up on that engineering bay, but the Zealots still able to get on top of that siege tank. The Reavers dropping right on top of the tanks in the meantime, softening them up. So it's going to be 1 siege tank left with some Vultures. 2 siege tanks at the natural expansion, 1 at the rear position, but Mini has pushed this assault back. He doesn't need to continue this attack. He can go ahead and draw back with these Dragoons, and it looks like he is going to do so as Zealot's getting some splash damage at the natural expansion. Once again, denying Sharp a degree of map control. Some Vultures flooding out again towards that 9 o'clock location. The Dragoons trying to mirror their movements. 3 o'clock base well saturated. This is 4 base Protoss versus 2 base Terran. Still a huge sizable supply lead. More shuttles out in play, more turrets being placed. The command centers just kind of float out to the 9 o'clock and hope it doesn't get spotted here. And that might in fact be the case at the, nope, maybe not, at the edge of range. We'll see if Mini responds to that. Vultures mining the upper right, Zealots trailing to go ahead and clear those mines. Dragoons trailing the Vultures otherwise. Probably going to lose that Dragoon, not that big a deal. Vultures sweeping up to the 9 o'clock before the Dragoons are able to get in position. The Observer trailing a little bit, which might get some mine positioning, but Sharp being very brave in taking this because I don't see a lot of Siege Tank support as of yet. So 4 Siege Tanks making the way up. That's leaving the natural expansion with just 2 Siege Tanks to defend. And there is 60 supply difference, practically 70 supply difference. Zealot bombs as well. The Dragoons tapping at that door. Reaver dropped from the rear. Look at that, just right out of range, right before. Look at this shuttle micro. It's incredible. Incredible shuttle micro. That is what pro shuttle micro looks like and why it can be so abusive at the top levels. I don't know, maybe I need to reevaluate and say that minis may be on the same level as snow, but point being, it's just vicious and oppressive for Terran. Incredible to watch though. High Templar are out in the field, Psystorm being developed, more gateways being tacked on. He can just play gateway man. Double Forge behind this as well to close a potential upgrade lead gap. Nexus being grabbed upper left. This is a third base at least for Sharp. Dropping supply depots to completely plug that gap. Wise to do so. Comsatting a little bit here and there to make sure the observer count is clear. But now, Mini has hit 200 supply, which means he can start throwing some troops away, especially with this level of map control, where the Vultures can't, well, is there a little bit of gap? I think that is insufficient for even Vultures to slip through. Actually, I don't want to put my word on that, though. Point being, this isn't the direction you want to take your Vultures anyway, but shuttles scooping up near the natural expansion, and with those shuttles still alive, I wouldn't be shocked to see some suicide storm drops to follow things. A lot of Zealots, look at this, 2 control groups of Zealots behind this, maybe to do some barrages, mines being cleared to make their suicide run paths open. Some Zealots also clearing mines at all other locations. Vultures realizing what's up, streaming out of this location. These Vultures able to sneak through. Might be able to pick off some High Templar. Shuttle scooping those High Templar up. Will protect them from the ground. We're gonna try to resurface and maybe get back to that top right-hand corner, maybe to pick off that probe and slow something down. The Zealots approaching, but seeing those two supply depots, gonna back off. So now it's just, yeah, 2 shuttles making their way to the north. I believe from this angle, yeah, the shuttles can go all the way across, drop the High Templar, Psystorming the Vultures rather than the SCV line. A follow-up Psystorm now hitting that SCV line. Blanketing the siege tanks. The supply depot's gone, so the Zealots marching the rest of the way, and all of these siege tanks are very soft. If a Zealot runs up and sneezes on them, should be able to wipe them out. So the 9 o'clock base is gone. Sharp calling GG right there. He's had enough. And Mini putting on a PvT clinic there. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you for listening.